Hi everyone, welcome to Takeoff Live. I'm your moderator, Quentin Carlson. We're broadcasting live from Porter Hall in the lovely city of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania at Carnegie Mellon University, which you should know that already. We'll be fielding questions that are submitted both through the live chat through Google Moderator, which will be below us, as well as questions that have been already submitted at TakeoffCMU.org. But first, I want to offer all the admitted students our deepest congratulations. Congratulations, and we hope to see you in the fall. And those who are on the wait list, good luck. It'll be fun. At this point in time, we'd like it if you guys who are watching could start submitting questions in the Google Moderator, or or just hang out and chat and do things like that. So let's introduce our panel of experts. So first up,
my name is Charlie Marks. I'm a freshman and I'm in Tepper.
I'm Grace. I'm a freshman, recently transferred from HNSS to Tepper.
I'm Hayden. I'm currently in SCS, probably transferring to IS in HNSS.
I'm Patrick. I am a junior studying mechanical engineering and industrial design.
I'm Dylan. I'm an information systems student. I have a double major in human-computer interaction.
and I'm Quentin Carlson. I'm a major in psychology in the H School of HNSS, or teacher college, or whatever we call it nowadays.
By the way, if we're using too many acronyms, please say so in chat.
Yeah, so HNSS is for Humanities and Social Sciences. Teacher College is what it's renamed to recently. So
we get used to it, so we need to, people who don't know, there are lots of them.
So we have kind of three main sections of questions that we've already predetermined, but we'd love if you guys submitted questions in the Google Moderator. Can't say that enough. But one of the things that we're going to be going through is housing and dining, academics, and as well as social life. Those are the main three categories of questions that we've already predetermined. So first up, why don't we go through, how is the food on campus? What is everyone's opinion of the food on campus?
All right, well, I'll start this one off then because I really like food. I definitely think that there's some good places to go and there's some bad places to go, but you learn very quickly to stay away from certain places. I would definitely say that my favorite place to eat on campus is in the Tepper School of Business, and it's called the Exchange. It's definitely really good. You can get sandwiches there, breakfast sandwiches, regular sandwiches, and they also have hot entrees that you can get every day, so it's very good. What would you say, Grace?
I'd agree. Tepper, the Exchange is really good for lunch. A lot of people go to the UC for lunch also. For dinner, people like to go to Resident because there's the most variety there, and I'd say that you can find a whole range of food depending on your taste, and it's even pretty easy to eat healthy also.
I won't lie. I actually enjoy the food at the underground.
Which is not very common, by the way, to enjoy the food at the underground.
Wow.
Other than that, I generally eat in UC at lunch and try to eat healthy like salads and stuff. So.
Dylan? Changing things up, so you don't go in a circle back and forth.
Well, I'm a junior now, and I still live on campus, but I'm off the meal plan. I wanted to start cooking for myself and learning how to do all that. So what's nice in the freshman dorms and some of the upperclassmen ones, there's full kitchens, usually in the basements or something. So they do have utilities to use, but you kind of have to bring your own pots and pans. So I generally don't eat on campus very much anymore, but it's really convenient late at night. Entropy is a lifesaver.
That's our grocery store.
Yeah.
Grocery store. It's more like a convenience store.
It's a convenience store.
Where I'm from, it's a grocery store.
It has the selection of groceries of your average gas station.
You
That's
guys have
okay.
a fancy gas station.
But yeah, entropy's good if you just want to pick up milk or something. Other than that, I don't like the campus food that much, but I think that's more because not many locations have much to offer. So once you've had the same entree like 6 or 7 times, it gets kind of old. So there's not that much variety, but it's not terrible. The other good thing is that we have a place called Skibo Coffee House in the University Center that's open until 2 a.m. every night, which depending on when you're getting back from working or doing other things, it's useful to have somewhere to go at that time of night.
Absolutely. So to change gears a little bit, I wanted to ask Patrick about his experience with Greek life and what the whole process of joining a fraternity or sorority is, when you can do it, and how that whole system works.
So it is different for fraternities and sororities as far as joining and kind of how all things run. For fraternities, there's fall rush and spring rush, and they happen generally the first couple weeks of those 2 semesters. And each fraternity has a whole slew of events, usually like a calendar on Facebook and posted around campus. And you just go, attend some of the events, meet the members of the organization and see if it's a right fit for you. And then you can be offered a bid for several fraternities and you select one if you want, and then go through a pledging process. Each fraternity has like a different process as far as the pledging goes. Usually it's most of the semester. Sororities do things a little bit differently, where they have this thing called IMR. It's I don't remember what it stands for anymore. Informal
and informal recruitment.
Yeah, FMR, formal membership recruitment, and that's again like a week or two, and you have to register for it, and you actually visit all the sororities, and then it's a process of mutual elimination, and it narrows down as the week goes on. At the end, they have a big bid event where you find out like which sorority you're going to be part of, that you chose as well. And then there's a whole process for that, but I don't really know because I'm not in a sorority.
You're not?
No, I'm in a sorority. But yeah, fraternity life is really enjoyable for me. I wouldn't say it's for everyone, but I would definitely recommend checking it out. They're pretty diverse, the different fraternities and sororities, and usually you can find one that fits your interests and personality. So I would say visit as many as you could, even as a freshman. I recommend waiting until spring semester though. I think it's good to kind of get your feet on the ground, find friend groups outside of a Greek life for a semester, and then see if it's right for you.
Just another note is like there's 4 different types of fraternities, right? Also, like service, professional, social, and then academic.
Yes, there's different, there's like academic fraternities, and they all kind of function a little bit differently. I'm just in a social fraternity, so purely for enjoyment mostly. We do like a lot of community service as well though. And then there's business and more like professional fraternities, and they focus more on the different professions that they're about. So there's a big one that's kind of mostly contained within like Tepper School of Business, and it's a business fraternity. And there's also cultural fraternities, and those are under a whole different branch. They have mostly Asian fraternities, I think.
Okay, so let's go through, we're kind of jumping around topics here, going through the different sections. And one of the topics I wanted to talk about was transferring majors, because I think a lot of people, at least that I've seen, are really concerned about where they start off with and then not necessarily being really happy with that, but still having the ability to switch majors and get to someplace that you're really excited about. So I know Grace and Hayden both have experienced different aspects of transferring majors. So Grace, why don't you start off?
Actually, with my situation, when I applied to Carnegie Mellon, I didn't know that I wanted to study business, so I just applied general into Asian SS. But recently, I think a couple months after I applied, I realized I wanted to study business, so ever since then I've kind of been set on applying to Tepper and trying to transfer and taking all the right courses. For my application, it wasn't very difficult. I wrote a short essay, and I think they were looking a lot at my grades and the courses I had taken that were relevant to Tepper. So it was just really important for me to keep my GPA up and show them that I was interested in the school, but the process overall wasn't very difficult.
So when I applied, I was kind of torn between applying as an information systems major or a computer science major. And so I applied early decision, so I kind of had to pick one, and I ended up going with SES. And so I took my first couple of courses, and then...
SES being computer science.
Yeah, School of Computer Science. And then I took a course in IS for the third quarter, and I kind of decided that I really think I wanted to switch gears into IS. I would say it's not... Some people say it's really easy to switch majors. It hasn't entirely been my experience because the IS program is really full, but there's an application process, and I've yet to submit that. But I think one of the major things they tend to look at though is your GPA and the classes you've taken, and whether those classes you've taken demonstrate interest in the program that you're applying to. So those are important things to look at.
So one thing to point out too is that sometimes I've heard people say that if they don't get into CS, they'll just apply to IS and transfer to CS, and that's IS is a little bit easier to get into in that regard. But it should be noted that if you're transferring from IS to CS, you still have to apply for CS. You have to get into CS. Now, that means though that whatever you've done in your IS career so far, or your first major, is part of the decision making there. So while I wouldn't recommend just applying to IS if you plan on transferring to CS, if you're doing that, then it would be in your best interest while you're in your first major to do as good as possible, so that when you do have to apply to another major, that they have incentive to let you in, because they can deny you. It's not just like you can switch around however you want once you're here. You can certainly be denied for another major if you apply for it.
In my experience with, I switched majors internally, so I did. I didn't do the whole internal transfer process, which is when you transfer between colleges here at CMU. But I switched inside of HNSS. I started out as IS and actually became a psychology major. And that process was a little bit easier because I was already in that school, and HNSS is very forgiving when it comes to switching within majors within that program. So what I did is I became a undecided major, and then within about a semester I became a psychology major and filled out the paperwork to do that. And that was not the worst process in the world. So on that note, let's jump back up to housing and dining. Let's talk a little bit about the residence halls that freshmen are going to experience. We've all been freshmen, so we all had different experiences in different residence halls, and we all have our favorites, basically wherever we lived. What we wanted to do is just kind of go through our views of the different residence halls. So we'll start off with the Hill, which consists of a ton of different little residence halls. And I know Patrick has experience with that. Does anybody else have experience with the Hill? No? Okay.
So I'll handle that. So the Hill's located on the one end of campus, and there's like 4 or 5 freshman dorms up there. But they all kind of have their own identities in themselves. There's like Donner and Hammerschlag and Scoble and McGill and Voss. And I lived in Donner for 2 years, and I really liked it. It's a really convenient place on campus, especially if you're in
that I think is really important. And one of my favorite things about CMU is the fact that freshman year, none of the people on your floor will be separated by college or anything. So if you make friends with your floor, and you probably will, you're going to have friends from all different majors. My friend group freshman year consisted of engineering majors, design majors, drama majors, a physics major, computer science majors. So you get to know a lot of people, and that becomes really interesting because everybody's pretty passionate about what they do here. So meeting all these people who have different interests from different majors is a really good thing. And you'll get that if when you live in your freshman dorm on your floor.
Final residence hall that we haven't touched on is the Res, which is also a freshman residence hall. I guess, does anybody have friends that live there or have experience with that? Because
They stole our mannequin a lot.
so much has a mannequin that was apparently stolen, and a purple mannequin. But the Res is the pink house, and it was recently bought by CMU, and it was hospice living as far as I'm aware. Getting like a guess from the producers. And saying,
People died there too.
so it's apparently haunted, but like beyond that,
But it's a new building.
it's a new building. It's a much newer building. They renovated it, and it's really nice. I think it has air conditioning as well. But I think they're efficiency style, so I think you have kitchens in your room.
Yep.
So that's something that's different.
It's like really far away from campus.
Yeah.
Not really. I mean,
Relative to, like,
compared to the other freshman dorms, yeah, but like
Compared to your average city campus, it's not far.
Yeah.
Right, but like as like a freshman, I don't know if people live in
The res is
Yeah.
a little bit is the furthest off campus.
And-
which is why they steal things from other dorms, so other dorms have to come and interact with them.
Yeah, the rooms are pretty nice there. One thing I want to mention too is that the res is short for the residence on 5th, which is different than resnick, which is junior, senior, upper class, suite style dorm,
Which is very
which is on campus, which is so the res and resnick are two different things.
There's one thing to mention about the res on 5th. Is they're right. They're the closest one to Oakland, which is a lot of Pitt's campus, and there's also a lot of places to eat down there. So I think the people that live in the res get a very unique experience freshman year because a lot of times people stay within the CMU campus because it really has everything you need. But the students that live in the res may be like a little bit more adventurous because they are used to being down in the Oakland area. And I would definitely recommend, I think you might be able to get a very limited meal plan when you live in the res because you're not as close to the places on campus to eat, so you'll probably find yourself eating down in Oakland a lot more.
Right, which is the only way to segue that greatly, Patrick. Talking about meal plans, the res is the only one that lets you have the yellow meal plan, if I'm not mistaken, which is the community dining meal plan, which has a variant of blocks and Dinex. But most of you guys won't be living in the res, and most of you will probably be selecting a certain meal plans and just getting everyone's opinions on blocks versus Dinex, which is kind of and what ratio you should get that in. And I know that one of our producers, Kevin, answered that question on TakeoffCMU, and he was mentioning that you should get the Red 9 plan, which is a very specific plan. But just what did everyone kind of get their freshman year, and you're still freshman when you guys on?
Well, I'm trying to remember actually. Red 9, I think that's what I'm on right now. I think it's like the least blocks and the most Dinex. Yeah, and I think that's definitely the way to go because I find myself even on Red 9 sometimes running out of, or not running out of blocks, like wasting blocks during the week. And with Dinex, blocks end every 2 weeks. Like you lose your blocks and they reset. However, Dinex doesn't reset until the end of the year.
Right.
I thought that they credits your student account.
Or something
Something like that, but yeah.
So one of the ways that, just so everyone understands, Dinex is dollars that you can spend on anything that you want on campus, and it's food related on campus. You can't use it in the bookstore. You can't use it to buy an iPod. People have tried. And you can also use it in select dining locations off campus, like Subway and Eaton Park, which is. And Michelle's Pizza, which will deliver to your dorm. So you can use your Dinex there. And then blocks you have to use in on-campus restaurants, and they give you and with each block you get a certain amount, like a certain entree. You can choose from the selection of entrees, a side, and a drink. That's generally how it works. And they reset every 2 weeks, like they said. Grace, what's your experience?
Yeah, last semester I was on Red 7, and then I switched to Red 9 this semester because on Red 7 I found that I wasn't using up all my blocks before the 2 weeks ended. And actually it's the same with Red 9 also. The other issue with blocks is like you can only use one block within a certain time to like another time. So there's kind of like breakfast block, lunch block, dinner block, and late block. So late night block. So what happens like at the end of 2 weeks when you have maybe like 5 blocks left, you can only use one within each of those time periods. So people do find that they have a lot of blocks left at the end of 2 weeks, and then it's kind of like money wasted. So people generally like to have more Dinex. It also gives you more flexibility. I go to Entropy a lot, so I use my Dinex there. But yeah, I agree. Like personally, I don't eat like too much, so Red 9 works out pretty well for me.
One thing to mention about blocks too is that they're very strict about what you can buy with blocks, and that includes things that are less valuable than a block. So you can get like an entree with 2 sides and a drink for a block, but if you want to get a bagel and you have no Dinex, you can't use a block for it. Like it makes 0 sense. But yeah, I think I had the Red 9 plan freshman year, and I too had too many blocks. I would recommend getting the least you can in a meal plan, and basically just if your parents are paying for meal plan and you're paying for meal plan, just use cash for the rest. Like for example, what I'm doing this year is I'm off the meal plan, and I told my parents, okay, so let's take let's figure out how much I'm likely to spend per day on food, and just multiply that out. And then what they did is they set up a separate bank account for me for the food. So I have like a food debit card that I use, and I eat similar to the way I did freshman year for a couple $100 less, and I basically just have an account that I use for food, and that works out great for me. And you can use it for entrees like Catch, or you can use it for Entropy or anything like Catch.
Yeah, they do accept credit cards at every single dining location on campus,
which is nice.
Which is really, really nice. There's no, it's not just like, oh, you can only use your CMU card. They'll accept like Discover, Visa, and MasterCard at every location. Patrick, so you went off the meal plan already.
Yeah.
So you've been cooking, and as a sophomore, and Dylan went off the meal plan as well. So
yeah, I still eat pretty much on campus though. Like I don't cook much, but I use Cash for on campus. Good.
Yeah, I end up eating on campus a lot more than I'd like to. It's just really convenient. But it's actually not too expensive if you find like the certain places where you can get reasonable meals. So Resnick, I find their meals are pretty reasonable for the price. Otherwise, you'd be paying like $9 for like a couple slices of pizza or something. But another option for meal plan stuff is if you do end up like joining a fraternity or sorority, a lot of them have cooks in house, and you can end up switching to their meal plans and eating at your respective fraternity or sorority house. But I would definitely say Dynex is the way to go. Little Blocks, you probably won't eat more than 2 or 3 times a day, and rarely like more than 2 times on the weekends. So just like something to think about.
I sometimes forget to eat. I'm working on something.
It's a common problem.
That's the
here,
CMU
right?
diet. It's a stress diet where you just kind of.
Oh, is it midnight? I should probably have dinner.
Yeah, exactly. So to change gears again, why don't we go ahead? We got a question submitted on Google Moderator, which is awesome. So check the link and use Google Moderator to submit questions to us. One of them was: is CMU cutthroat competitive or collaborative? So once you get into CMU, are you really competing against all of your peers in classes for A's and B's, or is it mainly, is it collaborative, or everyone kind of works together, has that kind of spirit? Do you want to start this?
Yeah, sure. That's a really interesting question. And I'd answer it by saying this. It is not cutthroat competitive, however it is competitive and also collaborative. And I mean that's a weird way to answer it, but yes, I mean, it's competitive in the sense that how well you're performing and how well your classmates are performing, that's a motivating factor in how well you should perform, and in a good way. I have a friend that we like to sort of compete in certain classes, and that's a good thing because we both end up doing better for it. But it's not, it's not cutthroat. It's supportive, and at the same time, we also collaborate on a lot of things. I think there are a lot of, especially with the difficulty of some of the classes here, there are a lot of things that end up being group projects or group, work. So I'd say it's collaborative too. I hope that answers your question, whoever asked that.
Yeah, I'd say as an upperclassman engineering major, I've had a large experience with coursework in different types of classes. I'd say that I was surprised at how collaborative and supportive other students are. I don't think I would make it through my major without working with my peers. We are always in like the library or some classroom just doing work together because you really need like everyone's brain working together. And I've heard at other schools it's very, very cutthroat, and you won't be able to get help from anyone else because like your grade is the most important. But I don't think that's the environment at CMU at all.
Absolutely. Does anybody have experience with academic development, which is an on-campus organization that is here to support you with your academics? You can get a tutor. You don't actually have to ever pay for a tutor when you're a student at Carnegie Mellon. They actually pay the tutor for you, which is a really cool feature. So if you're really good in a class, you get an A in the class, you can become a tutor for that class and make $10 an hour just talking to other kids about their work. So does anybody have experience with academic development? Hayden?
I have lots of experience with academic development.
Okay. Why is that?
I need lots of help. What's the specific question?
Okay, so the specific question is like, how has academic development affected your life here at CMU? What are your tools that you use to get everything done and manage your life and still be above water, not drowning? Because I feel like everyone had that moment where you feel like you're drowning in schoolwork and you still you have plans on Friday and you just have no idea when you're going to get everything done and how you're going to do well on a test and study for that. Because it's a lot different than high school, I think, for a lot of people here. Even with AP and IB classes, it's a very different environment and you do a little bit different with your studying. So, Charlie?
Yeah, sure. Okay, so one, I would definitely say schedule your time. Like what I normally do is I create a schedule for like the week ahead, and I say I'm not going to go to bed until I get this done, and I make sure that I stay on that schedule. So that's definitely something that's really helpful. Working with other people, definitely creating like your own little study groups if the homework is collaborative, definitely that helps so much too. And then finally, I would probably say installing an application on your computer called Facebook Blocker. It's definitely, I'm dead serious, it's really, really helpful. What it does is you install it and it literally goes on your computer and blocks your Facebook. You actually can't even remove the program on your computer until that hour, however long you specify, is up. It's actually a great application. It's really helpful. It blocks Facebook, and that Facebook's like a black hole for time, especially when you're trying to get some work done. So I would definitely look into that.
Could use one of those for Reddit.
Yeah, roll Reddit. Yeah, I'm sure they have Reddit.
They have self-control, which is a great app.
Oh, I thought people were just being mean when they said that.
You need self-control.
You need self-control.
Just for everyone, just to remind everyone, submit your questions on Google Moderator below. That'd be awesome. But okay, so Dylan, what's your experience with like getting everything done?
Let's see. Like you said, definitely budget your time. I think one of the things that helped me is I put all of my due dates for things on Google Calendar, and it can be like a dry erase board calendar or something. Just always be cognizant of what things are due upcoming. It's the worst thing in the world to be surprised on like a Sunday night and, oh crap, I have homework due tomorrow. Like you want to be aware of that in advance. Other than that, another piece of advice I can give is this. I have trouble usually with assignments getting started on them. Once I've figured out sort of what I'm doing and what the flavor of the assignment is, it's easier to continue working. So something that I try to do is I try to do something to start each assignment pretty soon after I get it. And that way you at least know what's going on and it's not a completely foreign thing when you have to actually start doing it. So just and it can be like 15 minutes of work. Just to start it in some form, and then it's easier to come back to it later than it is to start it the first time. I think that's probably all I have.
I'd say start early. I think you'll find when you get to CMU, you will join far more clubs than you probably have time for. And I'll all have meetings at very random times. I have a meeting at 10 o'clock on Thursday nights that runs to like 11:30. Yeah, and a lot of times like you don't know what's going to come out. Like there'll be like an emergency meeting or event will come up that you really want to go to. So I would say start your homework as early as you can and just stay on top of it. It's really easy to get behind and then you lose sleep, and losing sleep is not good for doing work. So I'd say stay on top of it. Definitely get a calendar. Without a calendar, I would be lost with all the meetings and classes and everything. So those are my 2 tips.
Grace?
I would have to say a lot of the similar things that have been said. I tend to be a little bit unrealistic with my time. I've joined a lot of organizations this year, and but I think it's actually helped me in terms of doing work. For example, I have meetings like all day after class from Monday until I don't get back till 10:30 sometimes. And so I know that anything that's due on Tuesday and even Wednesday sometimes I just try to do on the weekend. So it's helped me be more efficient to add more things to my schedule, but you do have to find the right balance. Another thing is asking for help, like going back to academic development. In high school, I never really had to even had to consider tutoring, but I came to college in spring semester at the beginning of my classes. I was just so intimidated that I went to academic development. I actually got 2 tutors for 2 different classes, and it's helped me out a lot. Coming to college, one of the different things about high school was just learning how to approach things the right way. So in high school, when I went to write essays, I would just sit down and write the whole thing within a few hours. But in college, I've learned I'm going to outline my essay tonight and then write it tomorrow. And you just learn how to work efficiently, and also working with people is also very helpful.
One thing I wanted to do a little PSA is if you do have any kind of disability, whether that's ADHD or any kind of disability out there, that you can look and get more time for tests or assignments, and you can do that through the Equal Opportunities Services section of CMU, and that's another option that that's out there, so you can get help both from academic development and working with your professors to make sure that you have extra time in your tests to complete it if that's necessary.
Oh, so I'm a calendaring Nazi. You can ask people who have seen my calendar. It's terrifying. There's usually 3 events going at one time. It's not that I'm attending all 3. It's that like
Your little Hermione thing there.
well, kind of. Not really. So basically, like, I have all the class supplements, like when tutoring is available, what tutoring is available on what days, and then all the recitations and all the classes. One thing that I do differently than I think most people do with their calendars is I retroactively go in and change my schedule depending on how I actually use my time. And so then I can go in and see where I might be wasting my time. Like, man, I've got so much to do, and I look at my calendar and I'm like, oh, I haven't been doing anything, that's why. But in addition to that, I think it's important for at least once or twice a week to do something not academic. Like, I don't know, I go to church. I know that's not everyone's thing, but and I go and wrestle with like middle schoolers and high schoolers and fight them, and that's fun. And I don't know, and it's not academic.
You beat up high schoolers.
No, actually, I usually lose. But like it's just something that I completely wipes my mind clean of like what's going on at school or anything like that, and it's just something. And what's important though is that I guard it. Like, I absolutely refuse not to go, and I think it's important to do have something, guard it, and don't let anything interfere with it, because it's like you can't let school consume your entire life. Like, you have to have those. What are y'all whispering about over there? Those islands of like of places to just not be worrying about school and stuff. Yeah.
I think that's really important. I can't stress enough how the library closes on 24/5. It closes at 9:00 p.m. on Friday. You should not be getting kicked out at 9 p.m. on Friday. You should be doing something fun. Same thing happens on Saturday. They open at like 10 o'clock in the morning. They close at like 9 o'clock at night. And then Sunday through Friday, you can be in the library all day on the quiet study level. So one of the things that I wanted to kind of connect with that is the kind of stigma behind how it used to be called H and less stress, which is for H and SS. And I know Tepper also has some stigma with that it's a really easy school. And I guess we wanted to dispel those rumors or kind of clarify them. And I know Dylan had something to say about this.
Yeah, so my view on that is this. Schools like the School of Computer Science will demand a level from you that is hard to handle for most people. And it makes it so that the reputation of computer science students, of the major, is that it's a very difficult major. The bar for HNSS is admittedly lower, but it's not because it's a less difficult major, it's because you have more flexibility. You can get away with doing less work in HNSS if you want to than you can in other majors. But not everybody does, and there are people in HNSS who work really hard. So it's more so that in HNSS you have the ability to make your major easier or harder if you want to. And some people choose to make it easier, and the same people who are choosing to make it easier are probably the people who are calling it H and less stress. But you don't have to, and it's not that the college itself is easier, it's just you have more flexibility, you can make your major what you want.
Anybody else have something to say along those lines, or a different way of putting it? I guess not putting it, but a different comment. Let's go with that.
No, definitely exactly what you said. It's just like whatever you decide to do, whatever you decide to pick up as your minor, double major. Like a lot of people I know, like there's definitely space to double major in like HNSS, and definitely it's just literally whatever you decide to do in your major.
Yeah, lots of people do double major in HNSS. For example, I'm in information systems, and I think it's actually more common in information systems to do a double major than it is not to. And the IS major is set up for that. Well, I mean, there's not that many classes in it, and that's one of the examples of how you can make your major or your experience here more fulfilling is if you pick up a second major in addition to something in HNSS.
Remember, you're the one that's spending the $200,000 here. If you want to get out of it within like a major that you can complete in 2 years and get a BA in it and just get out of it as quickly as possible, all the power to you. That's your $200,000, and you can goof off for the rest of the time.
We set up a website once, Quentin and I were
Yeah.
about to.
We're
I
still
won't say
working
the
on that.
full title of it, but it amounted to this. We were going to make a website that said something that you could put in your school, and it would say something like, you are paying, this many dollars based on your tuition cost that you said, David, to be here, per day. Like, so stop wasting your, effing time and get to work, because really, if you look at the figures, it's quite frightening. You're paying a lot per day to be here. Like, you might as well get the most out of it.
And you can say right now I think it's like 80 to 85.
This person here who's clearly in need of medical attention, please come and help. And that happens without any consequences. And the reason being is they don't want you to be afraid to call for help if someone's really in need of medical help. So we called and they took care of him, and as far as I know, there's no consequence for that. You're not reprimanded for doing it. You're not later cited or anything. You can get cited, but not through calling amnesty. That's a separate issue that, if you're being loud and someone calls the police on you, well, then you'll have to deal with it. But, don't ever be afraid to call campus police if someone needs it.
And the other thing I was going to say is, Patrick, are you an RA?
Yes.
Maybe you can confirm what I'm about to say, but
Yeah.
from my understanding, RAs know that kids are going to go out and that they're going to drink and party. Mostly what they want is for you to not have it in the dorms and for you to be responsible with it. Other than that, they're not out to try to get you in trouble, but they just really want you to be safe and responsible.
Yeah, that is exactly our viewpoint. I mean, I can't speak for all RAs. I mean, some people have like different perspectives on drinking and everything, but I'd say as a whole, and I've been RAing for 2 years now, so I've interacted with a lot of the RAs on campus. We're mostly concerned about your safety and you having a good year. So we just don't want you doing it in the dorm because we have to deal with that, and I don't want to get people in trouble. I don't think any of the RAs actually want to get people in trouble. And if you come back and you are intoxicated, we just want to make sure you're safe, and we're not out to get you in that regard either. So we encourage residents, if they're drunk, to come back, sleep in their own bed, and like that way at least know you're doing well and safe. Because I mean, I'm a student here, we're all students here, we know how school goes.
I think our last question, we'll end on a fun one, is your view of Pittsburgh. Whether or not you like Pittsburgh, how awesome is this city, how horrible is the bus service. Port Authority Transit, our favorite little bus service company. So what's your favorite part of Pittsburgh, Charlie?
My favorite part of Pittsburgh is probably, I really like the sports teams, definitely having like the Steelers, and I've been to a bunch of Penguins games, and it's just so much fun to be able to hop on a bus and like catch a Penguins game. The atmosphere in the Console Energy Centers where they play it's incredible, and they actually do, the Penguins organization does this thing called Student Rush where you can go out a couple hours before the game and you can wait in line, and you get like students, with your student ID you get like a reduced ticket fee. So if you really like hockey, this is definitely the city to be. It's definitely a hockey city.
Grace?
I'm from Buffalo, New York, so Pittsburgh and Buffalo are a little bit similar in that they're old steel towns, except Pittsburgh actually is like more on the rise than Buffalo is. So I find that there's like a nice like arts and cultural scene here. There's like really cool neighborhoods you can like explore and check out. Like my only regret is that I haven't like been able to do that more this year. The bus service allows you to do that. All you have to do is like flash your Carnegie Mellon ID. Like you don't have to swipe or anything. I think that's really convenient for Carnegie Mellon students. It's unfortunate that the bus service isn't as reliable as we would like it to be, and they're actually cutting it a little bit more. But overall, like I do like Pittsburgh. There are definitely things to do, people to meet, like places to explore.
I don't think I just wanted to jump into that.
This is my favorite part about Pittsburgh. Well, I'm from a small town, and so it's kind of been a transition for me, living in a city at all. So pretty much everything is new, but I really like it. I like all the mom and pop stores. Like I went into this really cool video store and everything was sorted by director, which turns out I can't find anything if that's the case. But I mean, it was like a coffee shop and a popcorn store at the same place. I don't know. And, like there's just lots of cool shops and stuff, which I think is pretty neat. I take the bus probably about 3 or 4 times a week, so I'm pretty familiar with that. The best strategy is just to like know the routes. Like if you're going to use the bus a lot, you're going to have 2 or 3 routes that you kind of use a lot. And basically, what you do is you just go to the bus stop and you wait. Don't bother checking the time. If you see it in the distance pulling away, just keep walking towards it, and you'll always miss the bus. It's okay. Just wait. Another one will come. And that's really the only strategy for the buses.
Yeah, there is service cuts coming to Port Authority Transit, which is the company that runs the Pittsburgh buses. Those cuts will be in effect September 2nd, so you guys will have a brief glimpse on how the buses would run normally, and then they will immediately cut by like 75%. Really? It's by about 50 to 75% of the city. They have a $64 million deficit, but and then it'll cut down to the point where there will never be a bus, and you guys can go there. Parking is available to freshmen. It's not excluded. Freshmen can bring a car if they want to, and they can pay the same parking rate that everyone else will, which is exorbitant. But
there's like a lottery for that.
There's a lottery, but there's generally slots for freshmen. For a few freshmen.
I should have known that.
Yeah. So Patrick, what's your favorite part about Pittsburgh?
I love Pittsburgh. I'm from Pittsburgh, and I never want to leave. I think my favorite part is the way that Pittsburgh's organized. People say it's like a really small city, but this kind of downtown is really small. But there's all these different neighborhoods around Pittsburgh, and CMU is conveniently located like right in the center of all of them. And they all have very unique identities. So there's like Shady Side, which is right down the road, then Squirrel Hill, which is up the hill, and Oakland, which is like down the road. And I think it just takes exploring. They're not hard to get to. I've walked to all of them several times from various places on campus, and there's like none that are more than 15-minute walk away. And the weather is not always the nicest, but whenever it is nice, I'd say take advantage of. exploring and eat a lot because the food in Pittsburgh is actually really good. There's so many good restaurants. Just look them up.
Except the Mexican.
A little bit about that.
So as far as favorite things in Pittsburgh, I don't feel equipped to answer that because I tend to overcommit myself and thus don't get off campus much. And I don't have a car either, which doesn't make it much doesn't make it easy to do that. Although there are buses. I want to say one more thing about the weather. I saw something someone had posted on Facebook the other day about Pittsburgh weather. It was a theory about how the weather works here. And it said this, when you have like a monitor that's black and white, you have black pixels and white pixels, and that's all you have. And to make gray, they just mix equal, a certain percentage of black and white pixels. The weather here is the same, except the black and white are summer and winter. So during the summer, you have summer days, during the winter, you have winter days, and during the fall and spring, you have some combination of summer and winter days that apparently averages out to those seasons. So I don't know, there are not many. It's either like, sunny and like pretty nice and sometimes hot, or it's like rainy and kind of cold. Or snowing, although we didn't get that much this year. So.
Yay, global warming.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
That is my experience with Pittsburgh.
Okay. Thank you guys for participating with Takeoff Live. This is our first little attempt to do this, and hopefully if we get some good reception, we'll do it again. Our show is produced by Kevin Schaefer, Alex Stern, and Kevin Berg. This is not in association with Carnegie Mellon's Office of Undergraduate Admissions. Special thanks to the Takeoff Flight crew, everyone here. I'm Quentin Carlson signing off, and we hope to see you in the fall. Yes. Okay. We had a clap. Great. Thank you.